Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unwokeable Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Owsley, and man, we have got a show for you today. We've got some great guests for us, but before I get to that, if you enjoy what we're giving you here, please remember like, subscribe, hit the bell, all those things. If you're watching on Facebook, go watch on YouTube. Subscribe there. That'll help me out. Super chats are open. If you want to ask anybody a question, you can give a little donation. That's how you can help support my channel. And I'll throw it over to the panel. And well, since I just mentioned the panel, let's not make them wait anymore. We've got a great panel. We've got the real Ron. I've got Janice Danforth of Moms for Liberty, and Chris Banning, who's going to be our next state representative out of the 24th district, correct?
Correct, sir.
Yeah, I got that right. You should be proud of me. All right, great. All right, guys, how are you doing? How's it going?
Good.
Doing well.
Good.
Well, the reason we have gathered here today is because Veritas has got Tyler Wren again.
Yay.
Man. I understand that Ron was a little instrumental in helping this happen, but I think everybody's been keeping an eye on him since we figured out that he got another job, which I think is just absolutely outlandish.
Yes.
I think that's absolutely outlandish. Let me switch the screen here. I want to make sure everybody can see us all. But I think that's something we need to talk about here is the fact that he did get another job, and so Ron, Janice, I know you've been intimately involved in this. Okay. Can you all give us a background on what happened coming out of Owasso? Because he was a teacher in Owasso, and then he moved after Owasso to Tulsa, Will Rogers High School, correct?
Correct.
Janice, can you give us a little bit of background on this?
Ron probably can give the Wasso piece better than I, but
okay. Well,
yeah.
Let's start with Ron, and then we'll move to Janice.
Yeah.
Back in August of 2021, it was brought to my attention by a parent that this gentleman was teaching 8th grade here in Owasso. And she sent me a bunch of his TikTok following posts that he was doing from the classroom. Just filthy stuff that I'm sure y'all have all seen, the I'm Your Parent Now TikTok that went national. Mm-hmm. And so I reported him to the current superintendent at the time, Amy Fitchner, and HR Lisa Johnson over here. And nothing was done for a half a year. I mean, nothing was done. And then Amy Fitchner was resigned. We had a new superintendent come in. And the funny thing is a sock puppet account came after me saying, I remember you trying to get this teacher in trouble at the beginning of the year. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that guy.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have reminded it.
Yeah. So thanks to whoever that was. But I brought it up again. And then Tim Ryland and I, a friend of mine, I'm sure you're all aware of Tim, we sent, by that time, House Bill 1775 had passed. So we filled out formal complaints and sent in emails and letters and stuff. And they immediately removed him from the classroom. And my thing is that they allowed him to resign. So there was no documentation. And we knew immediately that he would go to another district. And we have kept eyes on him. And I have, back in April when he resigned, I was put together with Project Veritas, and we decided to keep tabs on him. So then he went to Tulsa, and I believe he's still employed to this very day.
Yes.
Okay, so like, I'm going to get a timeline here. So was this the fall semester that he resigned?
Or spring semester.
No, April this year.
So it was April of this year, and then he went and got a job in Tulsa at a high school.
Correct.
Right? And here's the thing. I want to, as somebody who's taught in a lot of places, I know that how this goes. If he resigned mid-semester, he broke his contract. Okay, that's how that looks. And so people who hire him later on will know that he did that. Does that make sense? Because and if they check his reference, they're going to know what the situation was about why he resigned, if there's communication at all between the new administrator and the old administrator, which there should be. So that's one of my concerns here is that, as I've said many, many times, you have a DEI apparatus, whether they have an office or not. Lots of them are called student services directors now. But a lot of them will actually look for teachers like him. You know, and we've seen this actually in Summer Baumier here in Norman and that whole situation. She was out front on on social media about her activism, to the point that if any Google searching her name would have popped it up. And
Same
these
with
teachers,
Tyler.
exactly, that's my point.
Yeah.
And so what I've been telling officials here is that there's a very important part of 1775 rules that was removed, and this is this extracurricular part, okay, where you can hold administrators accountable for that, okay, because they're searching for these teachers. And I think that's part of what we're seeing here. Okay, so
Mark, real quick,
yeah,
'cause I forget every time we come on. What is DEI, and is that something that every district uses?
well, it is something every district uses, whether or not they have an office or not. Formally, since I've been going after them here in Oklahoma, I've seen them start to fall off.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Norman, who was so proud of their DEI office and their DEI officer, it was the most awesome thing they ever did. Now the office has kind of disappeared, but the director is now the head of student services.
Well, yeah, they just changed the name.
Yeah, they just changed the name, but they still have what they call, so DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And for everybody who may have not been on my channel before or listened to me about this, equity is the goal, meaning, trying to create equal or equitable outcomes by discrimination against one group or the other. Inclusion and diversity are the methods to get there. Okay. And inclusion means you have to exclude some people in order to include the people that you want. That's literally the legal definition of inclusion. So that's what you see here, because this apparatus lives in hiring. And that's why I wanted to hit this with you guys, because I want to highlight the fact that they searched for Tyler Wren.
They had to have. They had
Yeah.
to.
They had to have. And
Who
and
doesn't know? If you're in education and you're involved in it, whether you work for a school or you do what we do, you know who he is. Sorry.
That's right.
Hey, Mark, real quick, for the new listeners like myself, will you tell a little bit about your background and your teaching background? That way we can.
I know
we have a lot of new listeners.
I've spent a lot of time teaching in K through 12 schools. I've taught everything from pre-K through college, and most recently I was at the University of Oklahoma getting a doctorate, and I'm ABD and a doctorate there in music. So that's where I come from, and I've taught public, private, I've taught college, I've taught private, just lessons and things like that. So, and I have an Oklahoma teaching certificate. I have teaching certificates in 2 or 3 different states. So, yeah. So that's kind of where I come from. But it's this apparatus. Okay, this apparatus that we're dealing with is searching for these teachers. Okay, and that's what we're kind of seeing here. And so I want to pick it up there. So he went from Owasso after Ron busted him out there, and then got a job at Will Rogers High School in Tulsa.
Correct.
And obviously they ignored whatever reason that he was, removed. Fine. And that can vary on different degrees depending, but they would have had to ignore the activism piece, which is the reason he resigned. Correct. Yeah. Okay. So I want to get in here now.
Hang on a second, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
I told board members, and I also told parents. I blasted him out that he was at TPS. I proved that he had a TPS.org email account, and nobody could find him anywhere. They were like almost hiding him.
They were, because I've been looking. I noticed him at a TPS board meeting when they protested against Elena in June, and I saw him with the LGBT crew, and that was when I was like, why is he here? So then I started re-looking at him, because he's been kind of in the back of my head. And I literally have a whiteboard where right now, still his name on there. Where is he teaching ? And every time a new board minutes would come out with who they hired, he would never be on the list. And then I did my own research and figured out he was at Will Rogers, and he's not even listed on there as a teacher.
Yeah.
He's never been listed. They are keeping, it was purposefully, in my opinion, kept secret because they didn't want anyone to see and expose that he was working there.
Right.
There's
Well,
no
and
doubt in my mind.
here's the thing I want to get to too, is that, okay, Project Veritas busted him out.
Right.
But 1775 can't do anything unless they catch something specific in the classroom.
Right.
And that's the other part of this, right?
Yeah.
And but I think the important part of this video, which we're going to watch in just a minute, is to show that, it's the secret curriculum, right?
Yeah.
That the teachers do not need, and this is what I want to see rectified in 1775 moving forward, is that it doesn't have to be in the curriculum.
Right.
Right. And if we don't deal with the college and the woke teacher pipeline, we're going to be stuck no matter what school you go to, because this is what's coming out of the colleges right now. And so we need to really get inventive with how to deal with this situation. And it has to do with personnel. And I'm telling you, it has to do with administrators and who's doing the hiring. Right. So, but do you want to say something, Ron?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard you jump in. Let's watch the video and then we can do some reaction to that. Okay. Because I think it speaks for itself in terms of what the goal is here. And there's a whole army of teachers just like this.
Yeah.
A whole army of teachers just like this. So let's add this here.
I am an anarchist. The only thing that's a problem here is that House Bill 1775 or something. I can get my license for being too woke.
But I think it's,
You know what I mean?
you're not overly, there's ways to,
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, trust me, I want to burn down the entire system.
yeah, there's ways to introduce
There
these
is.
ideas without broadcasting it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
No, I broadcasted too much last semester. So,
Yeah.
But eventually you want to remove Christianity from, or religion from progressive thought, because
Yeah.
religion is hierarchical.
Okay.
Yes, that is Tyler.
So just right there, Chris, I imagine you have some thoughts on that specific statement. What do you think about removing religion from progressive thought and that being a goal for a teacher in school?
This country was founded on godly principles. Anybody who says different is in denial. And I fought this when I ran my campaign. I said, if you want someone who is not going to put God first, I'm not your candidate. Vote for the other guy because I'm not the candidate. But also now, when you deal with religion in school, you're going to have them all in school. So I'm a Christian. I believe that what we're doing right now is a minute of silence for prayer, and I think that's probably some of the best we can do. But I hate that we're getting away from Christianity and religion in school. I
want to point this out, that wokeness, and this is what's hard about this, is that this operates as a religion.
Yeah.
This ideology operates as a moral, doctrinal system. And so when he talks about removing Christianity from progressive thought, it's because you can't have two simultaneous religions blending.
He wants his.
That's right. And DEI and this whole apparatus is a hack of the separation of church and state, because it's a secular religion. And you have to think this way. You have to vote this way. You have to support these candidates and these kinds of policies in order to be morally good. Okay. And so that specific piece right there, I think, is very telling. And Chris, I think you hit a good point that, we were founded on a certain Judeo-Christian value, right? That had a set standards that you didn't even necessarily have to observe religiously in school, but that were a part of our educational system. This has removed it, and we created this kind of big God-sized hole in our moral system in schools, and they have replaced it. And so when we talk about separation of church and state, we need to really be looking at this Marxism, because just like James Lindsay says, this is a theology of Marxism. It really is. Janice, you got some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we see that. James Lindsay is obviously a big leader for me, and who I go to for information, because his knowledge is insane. And I love his quirky personality too. So that helps.
Well, and he's actively trying to help remove this stuff from the Southern Baptist Convention.
Right. He really likes to point out that piece, what you just saying, that they are switching Christianity. They want Christianity removed so they can put in their religion, which is not an actual religion in the sense of a faith, but it's their own, the wokeness. This man even brags about being a Satan worshiper. So it's like, how can we have someone like this be influencing our children? This is exactly the exact example of what we want not in our schools, and we need to remove him. He needs to be done. End of story. Like, non-negotiable for me. He's out. And anyone who follows suit with this kind of stuff, we need to get them out, because this is what's ruining education.
Now, Janice, I've noticed that you and Moms for Liberty, you love our teachers. I see you delivering products to our teachers. I see you delivering goodies to our teachers, and you stand up for these good teachers. What do you think the percentage is of this kind of stuff going on in our schools? Maybe just 2 or 3%, 5%. I mean, it's increasing, obviously.
Yeah, it's increasing. I think it's a small percent, depending on where in Oklahoma. I mean, and then obviously in different states, California is going to be a lot higher, but in Oklahoma specifically, I don't think it's that many. I think majority of teachers are awesome. I think we have amazing teachers, and those are the ones. To me, this is what I always say. Come on, parents and teachers band together. We can be a strong powerhouse. If teachers would start standing up against these particular teachers and call him out, say, I don't agree with this teacher and what he did, and I don't support doing this. That lets parents know that teacher is on their side and not interested in having this kind of stuff in the classroom. Wow. And then it puts the spotlight on those teachers. And then the ones who are like it are going to be a little more nervous about putting that in their classroom, because if they know they don't have the support and they know they're going to get called out and exposed, then they're going to be less likely to do it.
Yeah, you're right, Janice. You're right that there are probably still more teachers than not. But I'm telling you, we lost 40%. Of our older teachers between 2021 and 2022. But there's something that's really preventing what you're talking about happening, and that's the administrations.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you cannot you have an inverse value system here, and the administrations are pushing this ideology and pushing this doctrine, and any teacher who bucks that system, what you just described that teacher should do to this teacher is being done to them, and it's being done from the top down. And this is what 1775 ignores right now. This is what it ignores, and we have to understand that a teacher whose life is on the line, who's making a paycheck, right? That if their boss, because this is what happened to those older teachers. There's a great example out of Tulsa. She was a teacher of the year 10 or 15 years ago, and she's an older teacher, and she got pushed out. For her last 2 years, she got put on remediation because she wouldn't include this stuff in her lesson plans. And this is in Tulsa, by the way. And so what you're describing, yes, teachers need to be brave. But we also need to understand that the officials in this state need to rectify what's happening, not with the teachers, but with two parties, the administrators and the school counselors.
Yeah.
Because that's where this is coming from. If they do not deal with that situation, you're going to see more and more good teachers leave. And I'm telling you, I think the tipping point is more like 70-30 right now. Because I think 2 years ago, we were at the 2-3% mark. I think we're more at the 30% mark when it comes to these. And I think we're more in the 60 or 70% when it comes to administrators, and more in the 80 or 90% when it comes to counselors. So there's differing levels here.
And Mark, I was just about to say that. I talk to administrators on a daily basis that support or against this, and support one candidate over the other. So there are good administrators, but I agree with the 70-30 percentage. I think that's probably about accurate on the ones I speak to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
like you said, it's going to keep growing, and they're, it's purposefully, the good ones are being pushed out by design, because they want to have this is the ultimate goal. I mean, Marxism is the ultimate goal. Creating this utopia that can't actually exist is the ultimate goal. So how do we do that? We get the kids. I mean, that is right. Where you do it.
That's right. Go into all the world and preach the gospel.
Right.
And they're using your institutions to do it.
Right.
They're preaching a woke gospel. And so let's finish up this video so we can see what they have to say about it, because he has some more interesting things to say at the end.
Tyler Wren used to teach at the Owasso 8th grade center until he resigned last April after these TikTok videos were highlighted by Libs of TikTok.
If your parents don't love and accept you for who you are this Christmas, f*** them. I'm your parents now. I'm proud of you. Drink some water. I love you. Bye.
I have a rather large TikTok following. Yeah. I'm an authority figure, So I'm going to give out a Christmas message of like, hey, if your parents don't love and support you for who you are this Christmas, them. I'm your parents now. I love you. Drink some water. Proud of you.
His TikTok page backdoors his secret curriculum. Here is a list of books that Tyler wants to hide from parents.
Okay, let's take a look at these books. I noticed that none of the books on this list are like genderqueer, right? But this is also what I've been talking about when it comes to the books like genderqueer, right? Those are obvious, should be out of the school, done, gone, bye, right? Because they're blatant pornography. These are the books that are going to fall by the wayside and get into the back door that are just as dangerous in terms of moving your child mind literally away from the family and moving them towards a Marxist worldview and a worldview that creates victimhood in their life, which is going to make them less happy people over time. Janice, have you seen any of these books in the fights that you've been making with this?
Yeah, we have. I mean, we I don't know these specifically. I think White Fragility I've seen in there, but we definitely have seen Ibram Kendi and his counterpart that does a lot. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Ta-Nehisi Coates?
No, he's another. I can't think. He wrote a book with Kendi. So we're seeing those. I have not specifically looked at these.
Well, How to Be an Anti-Racist is by Ibram Kendi.
Yes.
And White Fragility, yes.
Yes.
But I'll tell you all of these books, and he's also got another one called Stamped from the Beginning.
Yes.
That as I've seen.
That's the one he wrote with that guy. I got to look him up now because it's going to bug me.
Okay.
I can't think of his name.
But I just wanted to point this out, that this is all towards a specific political mode of thinking. That all of these books and the way that he's talking about, you can have whatever politics you want. And I think that's been the case for a majority of American education is, hey, you're going to have your own beliefs and your own political beliefs specifically, right? But you don't bring those into the classroom.
No.
Right?
I mean, we found a book, Chris did, called Police Brutality in Bixby. And it it follows suit with this type of ideology right here.
Chris, you found that? What?
It was just, I actually never even opened it. Police Brutality was the name of it. And, if we have a book, we don't have a book in our public schools called Teacher Wrongdoings. So I don't believe we should have one called Police Brutality.
No.
Which way are we trying to move our kids here? So,
right.
We checked it out, and along with many other books that I was just in awe that were in our public schools. We have a book in our school right now that my 15-year-old can check out. But if he reads it out loud in front of his class, he'll be sent to the principal's office because it's so inappropriate and vulgar. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But then again, how many books are actually being checked out? That's the fight. But ultimately, why are they in there? Let's get them removed. If it's not a big deal, they're not being checked out, then move them out. That's just my thoughts on it.
Well, and it just depends on, there's an appropriateness scale here, right? And there should be a common sense standard, but it seems like we've moved out of the common sense standard. Ron, as a father, I want to paint this guy's sitting in front of your daughter and trying to push this stuff on your daughter. And we all know that this leads also to the gender issue that we've seen pop up here in the last, especially the last few weeks here in Oklahoma. How are you reacting to that? What led you? Obviously we've seen how you've reacted to it because you've busted him out now. What's the plan to go? What are you calling for them to do with Tyler now?
They can't do anything with Tyler, as far as I can tell, with the Project Veritas video, because I don't think he's violated any House Bill 1775 or anything like that. I think that knowing that he has violated school policy in the past, which is why he was asked to resign at Owasso, I think that you have to. And I was listening to y'all talk, and y'all know I love Jesus, and I cuss a little bit, and I'm loud and stuff. But I think that the reason I went after Tyler was almost out of ego or pissed offness, because they were asking for substitutes and teachers and bus drivers and stuff. So I applied. Yeah. I was going to give up my time to be a bus driver or whatever. And HR told me that I couldn't drive a bus because of my social media.
Yes.
because I lacked judgment. So I'm like, how can I not drive a bus when y'all are needing help, but he can do this shit on his TikTok?
Yeah.
And
he's teaching kids. You just be driving a bus.
that's exactly right. Now you've hit it. You've hit the inclusion of it all, right? So when the Supreme Court's definition of the word inclusion means to include somebody is to imply the explicit exclusion of another. So if you specifically include one group, you are excluding another group by definition. And we all must remember that critical race theory and critical theory, it stems from critical legal studies. And that so there's a connection here that they have been moving through what they call the long march through the institution for a very, very long time. And so what Ron just described here is the meat of this. DEI lives in the hiring and firing process. They are in recruitment, and they're also, according to the Norman Public School superintendent, in charge of the materials that come in. So they vet all of the library books, all of the news materials to make sure that they are inclusive, right? And what Ron just described, he can't be a bus driver in the school district because of his social media. But Tyler can go in and, say the F word and say that he's going to, that he's students' parents, and they just grab him right up and put him right in the classroom. And I'll tell you this, I've been told by many, 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 even professors that, if you have the right politics, there's almost nothing you can do and they won't put you in the classroom somewhere. And that's literally how it's going now. And that's the effect that these DEI officers, even if they're not called that anymore, have on the hiring and firing and the policy. And this is what I want to highlight here, is that How to Be an Anti-Racist, this is the most important book for everybody who's fighting this to understand. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because Ibram Kendi defines being an anti-racist explicitly in terms of institutional policy. Okay? And he says that either you create equity with discrimination against people who they define as not as racist, or you are racist. That's it. And so either you create policies that bring the people into your ideology into the school that you want and exclude those that you don't, like Ron, or you're not an anti-racist. So what Ron just described is the meat of it. It is the meat of it.
I'd like to just follow up real quick, Mark. Parents have, and I love teachers. I do love teachers. I support my teachers. Everybody has to say that. It's like saying, I got a black friend. I'm not racist. I love teachers. I do. But parents have got to get more involved in their children's education. Y'all are talking about religion, and you're talking about DEI. And I just want my kids to go to school to learn to read, write, and do math. And I don't understand why all this other BS is even in our public education system, and why parents aren't standing up and saying, why are these books in here that have no educational, why are we spending so much time and effort making sure that we're not educating these children? And you just have to sit down and think, there's got to be it's intentional. There's a purpose to it, but they've made the machine so big and so complicated that parents are just like, just take my money and teach my kids.
Well, and parents, let me answer to that, because since with what I do with Moms for Liberty, a lot of parents are afraid of what the consequence is going to be to their child if they come forward and fight against the system. So they're more likely to sit back and say, okay, I don't want Joey to get a bad grade, because if I call out somebody, an administrator or teacher, then what's going to happen to their grade? And that's a reality. I've talked to many, many parents that feel that way. They'll send me private messages saying, I appreciate what you're doing. I'm glad you're able to do that. I support you, but I can't. I don't want to put my name out there, or my kids risk them being out there. And that's unfortunate. But that's also by design. They intimidate. And we've covered this, Mark, on a previous one about the administration. Their purpose is intimidation, so that parents don't bond together to fight against the system. And they do that by ways. One way in particular is they tell you, Don't go talking about this on social media or whatever. Come talk to us one-on-one. Come bring your problem to me. Well, when you do that, you're isolating. It's like a toxic relationship. Like, don't go talk to your friends and family about what's going on. Just come talk to me, the one abusing you. We'll figure it out. Well, no, you have to say no. It's time to bring it to the light and expose. And that's why we have to continue to do that.
Yes, we do. But if we, and this is the drum, and I've been beating for a while now, for about 3 years since the first time I met with Governor Stitt, October 2020. Okay, that's the first time this was brought to his attention, and I've been saying the exact same thing. And everything you said is right, Janice. Everything you said. But I want to get back to Ron's question. You know, we talk about DEI, we talk about religion. What I'm telling you will actually fix the problem. You have we need the grassroots to stand up. Yes, number one, we need that. But if we do not point the attention at the right part of this, it will continue to happen.
Right.
We will be playing whack-a-mole for eternity. Because yes, all of the books, all of the books are a problem. But the left knows how to deal with your fight on that. That's what I'm saying. What they don't know how to deal with is you going after the actual apparatus, which is the administrator. It's the middle management here. It's it's what Vivek Ramaswamy calls the managerial class in our education. And the legislature has to get tough with that part of this problem. If they don't, we will never solve it.
It's true.
We will never solve it. And I've been saying this over and over and over again. And, yes, DEI is hard to understand, but it's really not. We have to go after the superintendents, which we've started to do a little bit of that. Okay. But we have to go after the actual principals and the school counselors. American School Counselors Association is a political organization designed to inject this in the entire apparatus. What we need to do is go after these third-party sources like the NSBA, right?
Yeah.
We all agree that that's a bad problem, right?
And OSSBA. Yeah.
Yes, but so is ASCA.
Yeah.
Right? And so is OSCA,
Yeah.
right? Because they say that you don't get to define who we are, what our jobs are. We're not guidance counselors. We're designed to they literally are the partnership between OU Children's Hospital and the schools that they were bragging about.
Right.
In terms of getting kids into that kind of ideology. So I just wanted to make that point. Let's finish up this video, and then I want to switch gears a minute after we comment on what he says here at the end.
The best
On
part.
his TikTok link tree.
I would say Gen Z is like super progressive.
Oh, I know.
I taught in Missouri last year, not last year, but 2 years ago. I taught a philosophy 101 class. We took a political quiz. Half the kids were like radical progressives. I am definitely not part of Antifa.
Yeah.
As a joke comment.
Yeah.
And they latched onto it like, oh my God, it's Antifa.
They couldn't stop you. Obviously, you're teaching, so that's
No, they definitely couldn't.
Yeah.
Also was like, they were super like, they didn't want to stand up for the parents, which I get.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Oklahoma, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to jump back to this part right here.
Radical progressives. I am definitely not part of Antifa.
Yeah.
As a joke comment.
Yeah.
And they latched onto it like, oh my God, it's Antifa.
They couldn't stop you.
Okay. Do we know what Antifa is? I mean, do you all know what Antifa is? Chris, have you had any run-ins with them at all?
I have not. No, sir.
Yeah,
I
Ron.
know what Antifa stands for, but if you're talking about the group, it's whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. That's what they go by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Janice, have you had any?
I mean, I haven't seen them in person, but yeah, I know about it. They're terrible. They're opposite of us.
Antifa claims they're anti-fascists, right?
Right.
But this is Darvo, okay? If you know that method of manipulation, it is basically accusing your enemy of what it is you're going to do.
You're doing yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And Antifa in Oklahoma, I mean, just for examples, I know several people, including myself, who, if you question the wrong person, specifically media, they will dox you and they will hack you. They will threaten you.
They do that to you?
Oh yeah. No,
I've never had that done. I don't know.
Well, yes, they do that and they brag about it. And they get ignored by authorities, specifically the federal authorities. But they are a political organization that is flying under the radar, that does everything that the media says that MAGA does. I mean, literally, they will intimidate teachers. They will intimidate. They will harass people. They've been very violent, especially in places like Portland. And this is something that police should be involved in, I believe. When you're talking about or bragging about to students your political affiliation in an organization like this, you should look up Andy Ngo. That's ANDYNGO. He has dealt much with Antifa, has written a book, but they are infiltrating red states and they're doing it little by slowly, but eventually they're going to end up doing the same thing they did in Portland.
Let me ask you this, Mark.
Yeah.
Since you're a teacher, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a teacher, but why would an English and language arts teacher in 8th grade be taking a political survey of the class?
That class was politics, or wasn't it philosophy or something?
Oh no, he said it. Well, he probably does it in every class. Well, he probably does it, but he's an ELA teacher, which is an English teacher. By the way, Summer Boimier was a English teacher, and this is what I've been saying since everybody was freaking out about history. The only let me get to your question. I will get to your question, but here's a bit of background. The only subject matter in Norman Public Schools that DEI had direct purview over was English, and that's because of the books. It's because of the books. So when you see genderqueer, when you see how to be an anti-racist, when you see them talk about stories, right? If they can't do it through history, where are they going to do it? Right?
And we see the most woke teachers are English teachers. That is what I consistently see over the last year.
Right, because it's the story, right? When you all learned English composition, you read what kind of books? You read To Kill a Mockingbird, you read The Iliad, you read Animal Farm. Well, you learn things in English through stories, but it's also language, guys. It's also because if you're teaching the definitions to words, you can change things. You can literally change the law, right, Chris? And I think you could probably speak to this as somebody who's going to be stepping into the legislature. You know, the law is based in words. And if you change the definition of the word racist, to be example, right, what kind of trouble does that do for the law here?
Right. You know, there's a big difference in, you know, I've been in government contracting all my life, and the difference between will and shall I mean, it's a complete different meaning. One says you have to, and one says that you're suggested to. And that's wordsmithing is what we continue to see happen.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what legislators need to be very, very aware of as they're moving forward with this stuff. And I think that 1775 has exposed a little bit of that we can fix if we have the will to do it. Yeah. You know, but that's why, Ron, is because they want the stories. They want to be able to have control of what goes on or what comes in terms of the books that you read, and what they want to have control over what the definitions of the words are as you're learning them as a kid, because this isn't about today, guys. This is about 20 years from now.
Right.
So yeah, let me share. So with Tyler Wren specifically, once I saw him at that TPS board meeting in June, I started watching him on his social media. So here's a tweet, and now he went private, but I took snapshots all over. I have gobs of stuff from him. So here's a tweet that he put out June 18th of this year. Okay, let's do this one last time. I'm Wrynn, a radical anti-fascist teacher from the Midwest. Here in my classroom, Black Lives Matter, ACAB, which means all cops are bastards. Trans rights are human rights, and no human is illegal. Any questions, class? That was one of his tweets this summer.
I can't believe he went private.
I know. I can't believe he should have been private from the beginning.
Well,
though.
Again, that's such a strange thing, because it's like within that, you know, trans rights are human rights. Well, that's a little more agreeable than ACAB, but he just nuts it right in there, right? Yeah. And we all know what trans rights as human rights really means. Okay, it means a lot of different things, but that is something that weaponizes the empathy of the parents or anybody that might be reading it. And ACAB is not something everybody knows, and that's what they do. They take a little bit of, you know, something that is okay, right, or that might seem okay, and then they rest it next to something that is absolutely not okay and most people would not agree with. Right. And then you have to take it all at the same time.
Yeah, I had to, when I saw that, I didn't know what it meant. I had to look it up. And then I was like, okay, now I don't like you even more. I mean,
Right.
this man is just a piece of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, we got some haters. Ron, you must bring out the haters here in this little chat.
I wouldn't have.
Holy.
I mean, if we're talking about definitions, I wouldn't have said the word work. He's a piece of something.
Yeah. He shouldn't be around kids. If he wants to do that in his own personal time, go for it. But he should not be influencing children and teaching children.
Right. And
not
again,
negotiable.
there's only a few people that made that decision.
Yeah.
There's only a few people that made that decision.
You obviously are teaching, so that's
No, they definitely couldn't.
Yeah. Well,
Also was like, they were super, like, they didn't want to stand for the parents, which I get.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Oklahoma, so what are you going to do?
yeah.
But they definitely didn't, like, nothing went on my record. Like,
Good.
you know, I could resign instead, so it didn't, like, garnish my teaching experience.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I'm glad you're in the fight.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm so mad. Owasso makes me the most mad of all of this.
That makes me physically want to, like, I mean, it makes me angry.
It does to me too. I'm so mad at Owasso. I've been tagging them on stuff left and right because I'm so ticked at them. Shame on them. I mean, this is all their fault. They should have, they have to own this whole thing, because had they fired him, we wouldn't be here now.
And that's what I told him. I said, I would have preferred y'all had fired him and had to buy out his contract.
Yeah.
Just to get the documentation on the, because he broke the policy. Nobody else did that. He did that. He's accountable for himself.
Right.
He knew the policy. He knew the rules. He chose to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Well, and they wouldn't have had to buy out his contract. This is a right to work state, guys.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing. Everybody talks about the teachers unions, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this is right to work state. You can get fired like that, and there ain't crap they can do about it. Not a thing. And that's just a fact. So it's they wouldn't have even had to do that. They did it because they were politically sympathetic with him.
Yes, because
That's
they're
why.
chicken. Sorry,
Right.
but ugh.
Again,
So Rocco's going to hear about it. I know Ron's gonna, but I am as well. I mean, the parents need to start yelling at these administrators and board members.
That's right.
Sorry,
No, but it's
there.
But it's
Get
not.
there.
I'm telling you, more the administration and the we need to look at the way that they're certified. But again, all of these people are trained in one place.
Yep. The
university system. So I'm going to tell you, Chris Manning, because I know you're a fighter, right? When you get in there, you better do something about the university. and I'm going to tell you right now, and I've been saying this to every legislator I've had on the show, every legislator I talk in the background to, you better damn well do something about the university, or this will not end. Yeah. You will be dealing with this in perpetuity for the remainder of time. And eventually it will become fait accompli. It will become exactly what we expect to happen. So, Chris, I hope you, when you get in there, you fight for something like that, because it's a big lobby and they have their thumbs on a lot of legislators up there.
Well, I was, up at midnight last night and back up at 5 o'clock this morning, and I don't get sworn in until November 16th.
Yeah.
I'm already working. I have a plan to head to Arizona. I want to talk to these folks about school choice. I want to dig in. I want to know every side of everything when I talk about any subject. But, we're all on this call for our love and our passion for our public schools and our kids. And I think it's getting misconstrued that we're against public schools. We love our public schools.
That's why we're fighting.
We love our kids.
If we didn't here, we would pull them out and not do this.
I had 17 parents call me last week. 17 parents. One of them said, I'm going to take a second mortgage out of my house to put my kid in private school if this continues down the path.
Yeah.
One of them told me, and I saw it and we worked through it, but there was a teacher in House District 24, not Bixby, House District 24, that was touting her sexual preference and her political ideology to a class of 11 and 12-year-olds.
And that was a small town.
A very small town. And those are the things that have to stop, because those teachers are giving other teachers bad names, just like the defund the police movement. Some cops were giving other cops bad names. We have to make sure that we realize that a majority of these teachers are amazing, but there's some that are given a bad name that we have to watch out for, keep an eye out for. And like you said, Mark, change this from the top down.
Yeah. Well, and just
bottom up either way.
Yeah, no, both ways.
Both ways.
Because that's how it was injected, and that's how it needs to be taken out. But I'm going to say, your private schools are just as bad right now, and you have less mechanisms to pull them out. So yes, we are for. If you don't, let me say this for any of my left-leaning people watching this, because it seems we have a lot of haters in the chat, which is great. You bring out the haters, Ron. That's fine.
I'm just trying to do what I do.
You do what you do. Okay, but here's the thing: if you don't want school choice, and this is just, I'm just speaking hypothetical here, but to the left side of if you're against school choice, okay, then let us fix the public schools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. But I'll tell you, school choice won't fix the problem unless we fix the woke teacher pipeline. That's just all there is to it. So I want to make school choice woke proof. Okay. And so the only way to do that is to deal with this administrator and teacher pipeline. So, but yeah, if we want public schools to succeed. We want our public schools to be places where our kids learn. We want our teachers to be successful, because when our teachers are successful, our kids are successful. But we don't want our teachers to be successful in indoctrinating and ripping our kids away from their parents, which is the goal of this political ideology. It really is. And you see it play out over and over and over again. And bringing to that is my next thing. So I want to get your all's thoughts on what happened this last week. With the hospital situation. And so I broke a story on September 15th about the Oklahoma Children's Hospital, OU Children's Hospital, doing surgeries, or what they refer to as gender affirming care, on kids under the age of 16. And first, let's just start right there. What are your thoughts on that happening in Oklahoma? Janice?
No, not an option, non-negotiable. Hard stop for me. Nope. There's
why though? Why don't you love kids? Why don't you love kids, Janet?
You have 20. We've talked about this as well. The prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until age 25. So anyone doing anything that's life altering, and that is extremely life altering, you're talking about something that's going to affect not only how you look, but these kids are losing their any type of ability to have sex and to have children. They're losing their ability to have children. Why would you want to put someone through that before they're able to really make that decision? And there's so many thousands of stories of people who have done that and regretted that decision. So a child just has no ability to make that decision. And any parent that is supporting their child to do something like that, I'm sorry, that's abusive in my opinion. We wouldn't say, a kid come up and say, I want my arm cut off because I don't like it anymore, or my eye poked out. Any parent would be arrested if they said, okay, let's go bring you in and have that done. We'll have that removed since you don't want that there anymore. I mean, what's next? Mm-hmm. How much worse can it get than mutilating children? But sadly it will be.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Well, I did what Janice said. This is, we have to have absolutes. And when we move away from absolutes, these children cannot. Right now I have 4 kids in public K through 12. I love our public school system, but I'm not going to let my daughter tomorrow decide she wants to be something she's not, or my son decide he wants to be something he's not. They're not able to make that decision. That's what parents are there for, to help guide and say, no, when you're 18, if you want to make that decision, that's fine. But as of right now, I'm your parent and I'm here to protect you. And that's what needs to be done right now.
Well, and here's look, and I just want to point this out. This is just great. I want to ask this person this question. Your 8-year-old comes to you, 10, let's even say 15. I don't care. That's fine. We'll do any of those ages. They walk up to you and they say, Mom, Dad, because I don't know, I don't want to assume the gender of this person. Mom, Dad, I'm MAGA, man. I love Donald Trump. I love him so much. This is how I identify. I want to identify as MAGA in my whole life, forever. So Mom, Dad, I need you to affirm my care. I need you to affirm who I am deep on the inside. And I need you to take me to the tattoo artist and put a big tattoo on my back of Donald Trump's face. You going to let him do it?
No.
No, not even somebody who's a conservative would let them do that. But I'm asking this person, well, you going to let them do that? You're going to affirm their true selves because they think that in the moment? Of course you're not. Because you don't believe in that political ideology. You don't believe in that. But guess what? You know how I know Janice and Chris and Ron are good parents? They wouldn't let their 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old do that either. And they may even support Trump, right? Because you don't let a kid permanently disfigure themselves in any way, shape, or form before they have the brain capacity to understand and do it on their own, right? There's a reason why we have laws that say you can't buy cigarettes until you're 18, that you can't buy alcohol until you're 21, right? Because these things can permanently mess with your mind and your body to the extent where you don't have, at an age when you don't have the ability to make those long-term decisions, right? I mean, Ron, I knew you had something to say here.
First of all, I can go to Walmart in Tulsa and bust my kid's ass, and I'll get the cops called on me for doing that because they're acting out in the middle of Walmart. But I can take them up to Oklahoma City and have their stuff cut off. Second thing is be a parent first. I'm not worried about my children liking me or being friends with my child. I'm here to protect my child and make sure they're productive members of society.
Right.
And just because they want to go run and jump off a cliff doesn't mean that I have to support that. That's not my job, is not to support them. My job is to protect them
and guide them.
And guide them. Yeah. And when you have children, I mean, like I gave an example, my son wanted to dye his hair the other day. When you get your job and you can support yourself and you can build your own house and you can do all the things that I do as a grown man, then you can go buy your hair dye and you can dye your hair. But that's not what we do in this house.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that again, you're a parent, you're not their friend. Right. But I want to put this up. In this case, MAGA is a mental health issue.
Oh.
Hold on. Guess what?
I wish this person would say who they were.
Hold on. Gender dysphoria is in the DCM. Again, gender dysphoria is in the DCM. So according to the doctors, they just made their own case. Folks, I don't know where you're used to being. You usually don't pop in on my streams, but you popped in on the wrong one.
I know who that is, and I know who that is, and they can.
I don't care who they are. I'm just saying they're arguing with the wrong person because I know what they believe better than they do. So it's because they're brainwashed, and
that is lunacy. That is lunacy.
Yeah, but even still, they just made my case. They just made the case against this, that this is a mental issue. Dysphoria itself is defined as a mental issue that can be, you're unhappy with lots of different things because of one specific issue, because of lots of specific issues. But gender dysphoria is the only one that we say, well, that's the only one. We have one cure for that. The one cure for that is hormone blockers and surgery. Right. You know what I mean? Or transitioning. That's the only one we add that to.
Mark,
anorexia. Sorry, Ron. That's a good comparison, I think, because anorexia is a mental disorder. Mm-hmm. They have a wrong think in their head. They're seeing themselves. I mean, you've even seen that where they have an image and they're a beautiful woman, and in the mirror she's skinny, bones because she doesn't eat. Well, she's not seeing the real her. She's seeing a false image of herself and she needs help. So a counselor at a school would not be saying, okay, well, you have anorexia and you don't want to eat. Well, I'm going to make sure to take, if your mom brought lunch for you, I'm going to take it away so you don't have to feel like you have to eat it. I mean, it's not even rational what they're saying. Right. You would never harm a child by doing that, but they want to harm a child by cutting them up. It's just not.
Well, and here's an even better one that talks about the social contagion of it all, because anorexia is something that's usually limited, right? But bulimia is not. Like, they've done many studies, especially in kids 10 to 17, right? About if you have a group of girls specifically, right? If one friend is bulimic, you will have a string of all of them around them that will, or a large percentage that will come bulimic after the fact. And again, if a counselor came in and found out you were bulimic, do they affirm who you are? Right. No, they don't affirm who you are.
According to this, they should, though.
That's right. And that shows you the dichotomy, the hypocrisy here.
Right.
And sadly, we see this even in some of our legislators, Chris. It's like we have legislators up there right now that are, running in my own district here that are putting their kids on this track to do this. And I'm just really concerned that we don't have. I'm really glad you're going, because I'm afraid that we don't have a lot of backbone in some of our legislators up there. What are you going to do to help us make sure that we get a prohibition on this with some teeth?
I'm just a common sense guy from Fort Smith, Arkansas, that moved here, and a military veteran, and I'm just trying to put a little common sense to what's going on, just like this teacher in Norman. Okay. Yeah. So, I want to think of every side of all these aspects. And this is how I see that teacher in Norman. If you grab 5 pictures, 2 pictures are pornographic, 3 pictures are not pornographic. You put those 5 pictures in an envelope, you seal the envelope, and you hand it to a child. You don't tell them to open it. You don't tell them to read it. Did you do something wrong as an adult handing that to a child? In my eyes, that's what happened. Because I went to the page, I clicked one time and went to a pornographic book. Right. A book that was so vulgar on Fox 25, they have to blur out the images.
That's right.
But yet it's around our schools and it's okay. What has happened? So those are the things, just common sense. And that's when I dig in, and I'm going to dig in tight. And I'm not going to be bought. I'm not going to be, I financed 90% of my campaign just to show that I couldn't be bought. And I hope to get in there and make some differences and put a little common sense to what's going on. And, I've got 4 kids in K through 12, and I was announced as the most dangerous candidate for our public schools.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Your kids are in public school.
Man, I graduated from public schools. My wife graduated and won state championships in our public schools. We love our public schools, and I was announced as the most dangerous candidate because I'm at the ground level.
I don't mean to interrupt, Chris. You're not a House of Rep yet, so I can interrupt you. But can I answer that comment, please?
Well, no, I had a comment here first.
Okay,
the teacher wasn't. Yes, you can. The teacher wasn't fired. She resigned. She told the media she was fired. They spread it the night before an election. And I uncovered this 3 weeks before the fact check from the Frontier, by the way. And Wendy Suarez spread this for 10,000 retweets. The teacher wasn't fired, and she resigned to become an activist. So and she handed this stuff out, knowing she was going to, or thinking she might get fired, hoping she might get fired, so she could become an activist. And she didn't, so she quit. You said she must be fired, but yeah, it's they have no. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder. That was a completely set up deal. She knew that she thought that she was going to get fired so that it would bolster her image as an actress. What she did wrong was, it's not her place to send children to the public library. If she wants to send them to the school library, that's her business because she's a teacher. Her job is to teach children. Her job is not to give access to where they can find pornography. That's their parents' responsibility. If their parents want to take them to the public library and check out whatever book they want, that's their parents' business. Right. But that teacher intentionally did that to make sure that she got the attention. God love her. She did a wonderful job.
Yeah, no, well, it was a completely manufactured outrage incident, and I
think
uncovered
that's what Tyler Wren was doing too. I really do.
Oh, of course, and this is what we've got to understand. This is how they've changed things so quickly: is they manufacture rage, and they manufacture incidents that if you just dig in just a little bit, it doesn't take much. But we have a complicit media, which is what I've been trying to fight against here, which is why I've been trying to call out these people and say, look, go over the media incidents specifically and show you how they're lying to you, right? And Wendy Suarez, she just retweeted this completely false statement without checking it, and 10,000 retweets later, you have Vox and Vice and all of these national stories taking off on the day of an election. She was trying to influence that election. Right. And if you look down there, Summer Bwami had a tweet where she was like, vote for April Grace. I mean, literally. And this was all and then she still hasn't retracted it. And even though the Frontier called her out for a blatant, the fact check false. And I was like, wow, but this is 3 weeks late, of course, and nobody paid attention to it.
Yeah.
But it's how my account got big traction because of this, because it's blatant. They're trying to lie to you, and we need to have as many people as we can fact check our local media on a regular basis, because this is how you want to ask why parents don't stand up, is because they watch the nightly news when they have 30 minutes to do it, right? We're talking about people that are working 50 or 60 hours a week, right? They watch the nightly news, they watch the morning news or the noon news, and they get this little distilled narrative driven point of view on these local news stations, and they don't think anything's wrong. And that's why I've been trying to go 3 or 4 times a day on this channel to highlight just these specific things about what's happening. And that's why I came out with the situation at OU Children's Hospital, and why I'm even right now trying to say, guys, the fix that we put out isn't quite the fix you think it is. No. And we need to do something in the spring. And if we don't, I mean, what they passed with that ARPA funding, ladies and gentlemen, what they passed with that ARPA funding is literally going to build the infrastructure for this to continue. And they're using that as the cudgel to say, well, if you don't, we'll take it away from you. Okay, so they'll stop doing the hormone stuff at that one hospital, at the OU Health Complex for a while until they get everything built. Then you don't have anything to hold over them anymore.
Right.
And if you don't, Greg Treat, you freaking coward. I mean,
that's why there were only 4 senators that voted no. 4.
That's right. Right.
That's it.
Right. They are cowards. They took Biden's blood money is what they did.
Yeah.
And they did it to line their own pockets. And I tell you, you can take everything from me. I will be on this little camera yelling at you from this day until the next day, until forever, so everybody knows that you did that, because this is supposed to be Oklahoma. Sorry, you just
Mark, you're too aggressive, man.
Is that it? Is that it?
Yeah, you're going to get blocked or something.
Well, see, and that's the thing, and you all be prepared for this. When I first started coming out with this stuff, suspended from YouTube, suspended from Twitter, suspended from Google, suspended from Amazon, all within 48 hours. Me and Courage is a Habit both, when we started digging into this. So yeah, if you hit on something they don't like, they're gonna boot you. So I don't know, guys. Sorry, I just kind of went off there. But that's why parents don't know, is because we have a press.
You were talking about the local news media.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily need to go back to Tyler Wren, but did anybody see anything on local news about Tyler Wren?
There was I posted Moms for Liberty. There was an article, but I don't think it was on the actual news. It was the
article. It was from the national ABC syndicate out of.
Put it on there. Yeah.
Right.
But
nobody covered this.
And
locally.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah. And see, Chris, that's what you're up against in the legislature, right? And I mean, you just know what I would say to you, my friend, because I've talked to you and I've seen it. You've got we don't have to agree on everything for me to support you. You know, I just want to point that out. But I've seen you're a fighter, right? And when you get up there, don't rely on the press, on the local press. You need to rely on people like me and like Megan Fox and some others that have been trying to get the real message out for you, because I think that's a big mistake that some of these legislators have made in the future or in the past. So just my thoughts. And that's why I appreciate you coming on the show. Ryan's come on the show. I've had Shane Jett and Nathan Dom and Representative West, and use us, because I think, and Ron and Janice and Moms for Liberty, obviously, everybody here is going to fight for you and help you. And we got to beat back this narrative. Go ahead, Ron.
One more quick thing. I know we're probably getting on with time, but did y'all see the Flashpoint interview with Ryan and Mike Turpin going back and forth about the book thing? And no. Mike Turpin said, "I've looked up the definition of groomer, and it's specific to pedophilia." And that is completely not right. I mean,
it's a wrong definition.
Yeah.
The military takes boys and they groom them to be soldiers.
Correct.
You know, I take baseball players and I groom them to be baseball players. It's a process of influencing somebody to do what you want them to do.
Exactly.
And man, I thought Ryan did well. I wish, and Chris and I have talked about, I wish that he had a book, Genderqueer or one of these nasty books. And when the guy said, why are you about these? Just slid it across the table and said, if you want to, go ahead and open it up to page 14 and read that and show it to the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got kicked off the air. They got kicked right off there. Yeah. Well, and
perfect. Exactly.
But then you have. Go ahead, Curious.
Sorry, and I can't reiterate this enough. Is my love for our public school system, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping get it fixed. I don't want 50 parents in a school board meeting every single month. There shouldn't be, because it shouldn't be that off course. I love our public schools. I want to keep my kids in public schools. Until last year, we never even looked at private education. That's how much love I have for our public schools. God forbid the day that some biological male walks in on my daughter in a bathroom. She's going to be yanked the next day. That has to stop in order for me to keep my kids in public school. And now I'm fighting for the entire state of Oklahoma, especially House District 24. So, because I love our public schools and I want to keep them just on the right path. That's it.
Well, and let me tell you what I covered yesterday. So there's a story out of Vermont where an entire girls volleyball team was removed from their own locker room because one transgender student claimed to be harassed in the locker room, and they didn't want. The girl said, "We don't want this person in here while we're changing." Right? They said, "Okay, you can be in the bathroom, whatever. You got stalls, whatever." Right? But they don't want him in there while they're changing. And so what did the school do? This is Vermont. This is where we're going, Oklahoma. This is progressivism progresses, right? The entire 10, 15 girl team got removed from the locker room so that transgender student, that biological male, could stay in the locker room. Tell me that is supporting women's rights to privacy, to safety, right? It seems like all the best women now are men. You know what I mean? Like this is where we're going. And if we don't stop it right now, and I mean really stop it, not pass a law that says we're going to, save this or save that, and then it allows for the same thing it allows for. Let's actually stop it. Let's have some stuff with teeth. Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
That is the reason I can't drive a bus for Owasso. Because I said that if a boy walked into my daughter's bathroom at school, she had a right to defend herself. Right. And they said that I lacked judgment as a parent to be around kids. Right.
Well, and you got to believe that they're going to come after and making sure that you're doing everything right with your kids, Ron, because the state has a lot of power, man. They have a lot of power over your kids. But I mean, what would you do, Chris? What would you do, Chris, if you had a man wanting to change in the locker room with your daughter? What would you do?
You know, I can't say that in public.
Yeah, I know it's a gotcha question. Here's my other question, and I'm going to throw this to the panel and see what your thoughts are. Why don't we ever see it the other way around?
Right.
Why don't we ever see it the other way around, where we have a biological female wanting to go into the locker room with biological males? I never see that. And I'll tell you this, you wouldn't see the boys complaining about it.
No, they would not.
That's exactly why you don't see it, I think.
Yeah.
I'll say it. I'll say it out. It's basic sexual tendencies.
Right. And you never see it the other way around. And they weaponize it this way because it's like, well, they're literally advocating for men to take over women's private spaces.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fathom. It doesn't compute in my head. I don't understand it.
And then in the sports arena, when you're not going to see a woman that turns to a man competing with other boys because she's not going to win.
Right.
I mean, men are stronger, they're faster. And that's not to say you can't ever, a woman's not going to outrun a guy. I'm not saying that, but if you're looking at the same type, if they're all in cross country or they're all in soccer, whatever, you're going to have women aren't going to do that. Right. Well, yeah. But the interesting thing is, Billboard Chris talks about, majority of these surgeries are actually the reverse. It's more girls that are doing it more so than the boys. So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy on that.
That's a complete flip. than what gender dysphoria used to be, like over like 400% over 10 years, to where it used to be male to female, it's female to male now. And so that's why, you know, I'm really trying to get this Fathers Defending Daughters off the ground, or at least work with Moms for Liberty to get more dads involved, because I think that's what we miss here is that masculine presence of saying, you're not coming after my daughter. And I know that dads can be involved with Moms for Liberty, but yes, they can. And I want to point that out. And I'm not trying to steal any thunder there. I'm just looking for a place that dads can go and talk, because again, it's like, you know, we used to have the Boy Scouts. We don't anymore. Right. You know what I mean? They've taken that masculinity out of our system, you know, and we need some righteous masculinity in this to protect our daughters specifically, because they're coming after our little girls. You know, they're coming after our girls, and we need a buttoned up warriors like Chris and like Ron to go in there and into these school boards as with the moms, and say, no, we are unified here. We have mothers and fathers, you know, and get involved. And I think that's what Moms for Liberty has been trying to do so well. And I can't speak highly enough of them and what Tiffany is doing with that organization, both nationally and, but I would like to see more dads involved. We would, and I think it would help. Yeah. So I'm going to try to help with that. Well, guys, I know we're winding down. I will say this: don't let any administrator, teacher, college, or any other adult take your kids from you. Don't let them erase their identity and implant a political identity in its place, because that's what they're trying to do. And all of the people here, you know, we came on here to rag a little bit on Tyler Wren, but just to also show that he got a free pass to go and keep doing this again. And we have to find a way to hold the administrators who are hiring him accountable for that.
Absolutely.
And if Ron can't drive a bus because of his social media responsibility, why can this kid go back in and teach kids after he's been obviously irresponsible on social media, right? Wouldn't you agree? Well, guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Mark.
I hope to have you all back. Chris, I want to have you on, just you and me, so we can talk about what you're doing and me platform, a Sue platform, people, guys, and you always got a place here at the Unlocal Podcast, and I appreciate it. And we'll see everybody later. Thank you.
Bye.